left always uses to try to protect itself from facing criminal punishment. It is essential that we are wise enough and strong enough to understand that these appeals must fall on deaf ears. When the leftist, who does not believe in freedom, who does not believe in civil rights, who does not believe in any ordered notion of justice, protests that we are violating his rights, understands that he is lying to try to persuade people who are not closely following the political space that some injustice has been perpetrated against them. We must stay the course and be completely unflinching in the pursuit of justice against these enemies of civilization. If the left is allowed to use the real or actual threat of violence to destabilize our institutions, then those institutions cannot and will not succeed. So here in the United States, for example, we saw in the recent past clear threats of violence against our Supreme Court to try to shape how they rule on upcoming decisions. The leftist does this with the full desire and intent of understanding that the threat of violence against a public figure or their family is meant to cow them into behaving or acting or conducting themselves differently. Had the combination of a violent left-wing organization threatening our nation's highest court and the federal government and the Department of Justice turning a blind eye to it. Those are the conditions in which this kind of violence infects her as a cancer and ultimately destroys society. Nothing that we do works if the threat of violence and terror goes on unchecked. Our political systems don't work, our judicial systems don't work, our legal systems don't work, our jury trials don't work. At the same time,
don't be embarrassed out there, guys. When I made my $1 billion age 16, I came after you know why? Because I'm aggressive. So in my house, that's a compliment, okay?
Create the conditions that allow that violence to go on without any meaningful inhibition. So, to be specific, we've seen some of our nation's cities in America, like Washington, D.C., New York City, something that gets an American term, but it's known as jury nullification. This is when a person is obviously guilty of a crime, but the juror, because they're ideologically sympathetic to the perpetrator, will not sentence them for the crime which was obviously committed. We've seen in the United States, again and again, individuals who are part of left-wing organizations commit assaults against ICE officers or federal law enforcement.
Let's overturn some norms tonight, people. We don't ever play by the rules, okay?
The jury has refused to convict for purely political reasons. When you reach that point, it demonstrates how deeply the cancer has begun to infect your society. Where people have created an internal rationalization structure to justify unsanctioned violence against state and state actors to achieve its political ends. We have to use every lawful, legitimate tool that we have to demonstrate that justice will be served and delivered, and to prove that these kinds of tactics and techniques will ultimately fail. If the leftist learns and observes that their violence and criminal activity helps and ultimately succeeds in achieving their desired political ends, they will be endlessly emboldened. Here in the United States, we've seen a growing and deeply alarming increase in attempted assassinations against public figures. Most notably, of course, the multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, the successful assassination attempt against Charlie Kirk, and many others. This is a fatal cancer to civilization. And the greatest risk that we have is that our institutions have grown too soft and too cowardly to be able to defend themselves against a mortal threat.
Have you seen the
If
size
your
of my property
civilization is your home, you must defend it with the same passion and force as if an enemy intruder is inside your own house or your family lives. That is the level of dedication and urgency that is required. And the greatest threat is that even though there are far more of us, there are far more people who believe in order and civilization and liberty and the rule of law. is that if we are softer than those who seek to end us, then the smaller but more radical minority will succeed. It is easy to dismiss what I'm saying and say, surely it cannot be that bad, it cannot be that dire. But again, I point to the examples in our own country, where, for example, our Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which has been duly statutory authorized to carry out routine enforcement of immigration law, has been subjected to an over 8,000% increase in violent assaults. These are not one-off episodes. This is repeat, systemic, organized, funded insurrection and armed resistance against the federal government. There was a sniper from a sniper's nest who used an assault rifle trying to shoot ICE officers in Dallas, Texas. These are the episodes that we're talking about, where we have had repeated, direct, violent attacks on federal law enforcement in order to veto the ballot box with violence. And the leftists justify the violence itself by saying that they alone are the arbiters of what is right or wrong. Not the law, not history, not civilization, not public opinion, certainly not God. The leftist is himself, judge, jury, executioner. But let's not pretend for a moment that these radical leftists, these terrorists, are operating from a place of sincere political conviction. Sure, there are plenty of useful idiots that they use who may believe these discredited ideologies. The leftist is fundamentally motivated by envy, by hatred, by jealousy. The leftist looks at what is beautiful and what is good and what is natural and is filled with envy and hatred. The leftist looks at the perfect family, with the perfect life, and the perfect job, the perfect kid, and goes to church every Sunday and is filled with the feeling of inadequacy and jealousy, and they covet, and they turn those emotions ultimately into a desire to subjugate, to oppress, and to inflict pain and suffering. It's not a coincidence that when you look at these violent Antifa demonstrations, you see any photographs of those who are assembled. To be blunt, not one of the people that is demonstrating looks like a normal person. Not one looks normal. They're all deformed in some way in their appearance, in their dress, in their mannerisms. Why is that? Why? You look at two photographs and you see a normal American street, you see an Antifa protest. Why do the people that are violently demonstrating, why is not one normal-looking person among them? Every one of them, through the course of their life and their decisions, has scarred their body and their appearance in many different ways, to the point in which their outer appearance becomes a manifestation of their inner hatred. Trust your instincts. To all people across all civilizations, you know what normal is. You know what beautiful is. You know what good is. You know that families are right. You know that children are precious and beautiful and must be protected. You know that the criminal and the junkie and the predator is a threat to normal, healthy living. This is so much deeper than issues about taxation and regulation, although they're incredibly important. It's about normal, healthy, ordered living. And the violent leftists, for these deep-seated reasons, go back to the earliest wisdom taught to us in the Bible about covenant. And I'm not talking about rich versus poor. I'm talking about a much deeper kind of covenant. Coveting people who are morally superior, who are superior in the simple, truthful way they live their lives. People that they look at who are happy and ordered and peaceful and contributing to the community. That burns an emperor into them. And that's how you end up with the horrors we've seen throughout history, where good families are dragged out into the street and executed. And you might say, again, you're describing a future that seems impossible to conceive of. When it comes to preventing these horrors, it is the burden and the duty of good people, of all walks of life, to understand that you will always be accused of raising the alarm too loudly. If you wait until the point where the worst outcome is so obvious that no one can deny it, you've already lost the battle. That's the fundamental point. If you say, I will not raise this alarm until the threat is so present But it's already too late. Already too late. I would rather prevent this threat from occurring and be accused for the rest of my life of having falsely raised the alarm, knowing in myself that I was right, than for fear of being judged having waited too long until the point of no return has been crossed. The good news is that we are far away from the point of no return. So all of us should organize together and work together for the good and the benefit of all the people in our society, of all walks of life, of all persuasions, to deliver for them what they are justly entitled to, which is to live with safety, with fundamental human dignity, and with the ability to live in peace and harmony with their families and neighbors. Thank you all, and God bless.
All too familiar from the Red Brigades of the Bottom Rheinhoff group in Europe to the weather on the ground here in the United States to the Putumatos and the Montoneros in South America. Many of our countries have familiarity in the past with political terrorism, and unfortunately we're seeing a resurgence of that again today. And so that is why we are gathered here to talk about this dangerous trend. Obviously, we know the good news is it can be defeated because it has been defeated, and we can defeat it again. But that's going to require some clear leadership, and it is my great privilege to underscore the host of today's conference to produce in one of the most dynamic cities in our country, Miami, Florida, where international relations just flows in the air because of so many different cultures present there. He suddenly served in the United States Senate with great distinction for 14 years, and he now is the chief steward of policy for our great president, Donald J. Trump. So it's my great honor this morning to introduce our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Just came through to the military. Millionaire has been confirmed as KIA.
Watch our fans think bounce when they find out all the money's out of the picture.
I also want to thank members of the President's Cabinet that are here today. Our FBI Director, Cash Patel, is here with us. Thank you. Our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, has joined us as well. You'll hear shortly from Stephen Miller, the President's Deputy Chief of Staff and one of his top advisors on Homeland Security issues as well. And of course, our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, is here. But again, I want to thank all of you that are here today. I want to thank the whole team here at the State Department as well for putting this together. It truly is an unprecedented